Welcome to Into the Unknown with Mike and John, Season 2, Episode 3.
3!
I know, they're racking up. Today, we discuss what is arguably the most haunted small town in America, Old Ellicott City. This story is as Maryland as you can get, and ghosts abound in this tiny mill town. I'm Mike Duber.
And I'm John Fitzpatrick.
All right, John. This really is a long time coming, and it's about time.
I mean, we kind of started by thinking this might be the first episode ever, and then we realized, whoops, there's a lot there. That might be a little too much to take on. We could have told a story, but...
Yeah. Well, there are lots of stories here, John, as you know. And, also, let's not lose sight of the fact that this was a request.
Yes.
So this request comes from Huntsville, Alabama, and my old dear friend Jen. This is for you. This is really, we are calling this Ellicott City Part 1 of who knows.
Who knows?
We'll be returning to this well many, many times. So, John, you've done some research. I think you have some things to share.
I'm going to set the scene.
Yeah, set the scene.
I'm going to set the stage. Yeah. Imagine the curtain coming up, and you're looking at Ellicott City, and I'm going to try to paint that picture now. Are you ready?
The concession stand still open? Oh, no, I've got my milk duds right
here. Well,
here.
you know this place well, so if you want to go get some milk duds,
I think
that's fine.
I will.
Okay. Ellicott City.
Going to the lobby.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You go. Ellicott City has the reputation for being the most haunted small town in Maryland, maybe even the United States. And while that kind of hyperbolic label is thrown around by ghost tours all over the country, and yes, I admit, there are probably a few other towns that might legitimately take issue with that claim, there's still plenty of evidence that it's true. And Into the Unknown with Mike and John proudly aims to make that case. If you're saying, how are you guys going to prove that claim in this episode? That's the point. We aren't. This is just the introductory episode. The first of many.
Many.
How many?
Back. I'm back.
We don't know. Ellicott City is the paranormal gift that keeps on giving. Mm-hmm. We are going to return again and again and again. We already know that.
That's a lot of agains.
We aren't even planning out an arc. We're going to dip back into Ellicott City periodically like it's a slush pile.
It sounds like we are addicted to Ellicott City.
Well, yes. Yeah, but the problem is that Ellicott City is haunted. It's ghost story after ghost story after ghost story. So you don't really want to overdo that.
Yeah. We want to spread it out.
We're going to spread it out. But I think you're all getting the idea now. But we do need to spend a little time setting the scene. Sure, if you're listening to us, you're probably most interested in the paranormal aspects, but we really would be doing you a disservice if we don't paint the picture of Ellicott City, because it is picturesque. And if you're outside Maryland and have heard of Ellicott City, it's probably only a cursory way, so we need to sort of situate you. The first thing you should know is there really are two faces to Ellicott City.
Yeah, that's true.
There is old Ellicott City. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you.
No, that's okay. Keep going. I was going to say, just like a Janet.
Okay. Get your chance. There is old Ellicott City, which dates back to the colonial era and the original mill town, and that's where we'll be spending the most time exploring. There is also the modern Ellicott City, which mostly exists on the heights above the Patapsco River and grew up along the modern highways that go through. Mm-hmm. You might not expect hauntings in that area, but fear not, there are, and we will eventually get to them, just not today. Old Ellicott City sits in a scar-like granite valley, cut by the Tiber River as it flows down through the town, in some cases under the town, to the Patapsco River. The Patapsco separates Baltimore County, where Mike and I grew up, from Howard County as it continues eastward to become the Baltimore Harbor and empty into the Chesapeake Bay and eventually the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you all the way down.
That's right. And you remember Howard County, that county that was created
Out of Anne
Arundel County. Yeah. Just making sure everybody knows that.
The Patapsco, the mighty Patapsco, served as the power source for several grain mills near this location from the early 18th century. This was fostered in part by the construction of a road to link the port of Baltimore with Frederick, a growing colonial city in the west of Maryland, guarding the approach to the Appalachians. In 1771, 3 Quaker brothers from Pennsylvania, John, Andrew, and Joseph Ellicott, purchased land and established the first of their 2 Ellicott mills, an upper and a lower. Over the next few years, the growth of the upper and lower mills encouraged a shift of the old Frederick Road traffic south to the lower Ellicott mills. That's become the current Frederick Road. And I mean current. That is still the Frederick Road.
Yep, sure is.
And in Ellicott City, it's identified as the main street. Mm-hmm. And somewhat later from the period we're describing now in 1770s, it became the United States' first national road heading west. Mm-hmm. The Ellicotts tended to the growth of the town through business ventures involving the mills, granite quarries, and agricultural projects. Because of the economic importance of Ellicott City, the Baltimore and Ohio, or B&O Railroad, and yes, that's the same B&O Railroad from Monopoly. Mm-hmm. The Baltimore and Ohio Railroad established the nation's first rail terminus in Ellicott City in 1830. Mm-hmm. The station, which stands today, although much changed, was located at the point where the Tiber joins the Patapsco. The rail line connected Baltimore with Ellicott City. The first trains were actually horse-drawn, and also in 1830, this very same rail line hosted a race between a horse-drawn train and the new steam-powered locomotive, this one affectionately named Tom Thumb.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Spoiler, the horse won. But the technology of the steam engine proved its value, and it was assumed, rightfully, it would only get better. Mm-hmm. Later in the century, the town weathered the American Civil War. We'll talk about that. With much of the populace actually siding with the Confederacy, forcing the Union to occupy the strategic rail town with troops.
The border state.
Yep. And certainly so.
Yes. Yep. The plug uglies.
A lot of the stories to come are going to...
Plug uglies running through the town in Baltimore, not that far away.
Yeah. Ellicott City has also suffered a dozen or so floods, beginning with at least, the historical record of 1780, and with alarming period to cities since then, including 2 associated with major hurricanes, including 1973's Hurricane Agnes.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that before, you remember? Way back in episode 1 in season 1 in the
Sykesville Monster.
That's right.
Before 2011, these floods all came from the rising waters of the 2 rivers, mainly the Patapsco, after the rain drainage swelled them. But there was a change, and in 2016 and 2018, the town suffered new flooding issues as water actually rolled down from the hills from the suburban development that had been taking place, turning the streets into their own temporary rivers as the water rushed down to the Patapsco, sweeping away cars and trucks, tearing down buildings, and making national headlines. Many lives were lost across these floods. Ellicott City has also endured fires, including several in the late 20th century, in 1984, 1992, and 1999. There have been train accidents, including a derailment in 2012 that killed 2 teenage young women.
Remember that.
Now, you can probably guess I've skipped over many details of the town's history. That's because they will get interwoven with the stories as we tell them. And I've tried to highlight the features of Ellicott City that may be paranormally significant. Let me just highlight them again. Generations have lived and died naturally there. The hard work of the kind that clearly built Ellicott City often brings tragedies, such as falls, industrial accidents, the rail incidents. Close quarters living usually comes, unfortunately, with arguments, altercations, and even murder.
People are messy.
And the march of history brought the crimes, wars, social strife, and upheaval you would expect. We discussed that natural disaster is no stranger to the town. So perhaps you are familiar with the stone tapes theory about hauntings. That old stones, like the granite the town is built on and from, can somehow be imprinted by the emotionally charged actions of people who live near them. And the energy to charge the stones and later create the spectral playbacks can come from running water. Ellicott City has both rivers and stone in abundance.
It does. And the stone was pulled from a quarry nearby.
Yep.
So it's
all native.
All there,
It's all
and
native.
it's all brought together right there at a confluence of rivers and stone.
Yes. So today, crowded old Ellicott City is a delightful walk from the old train station and working rail line by the Patapsco, past numerous shops, antique stores, artisans' boutiques, restaurants, bars, distilleries, and historic landmarks, to the top of the hill, where you can find the courthouse, an old fire station, churches. It is no exaggeration as you walk that every single building you walk by on this street, and some that are now vanished, can claim at least one ghost.
And sometimes the spaces in between buildings.
And we promise you'll get to meet them.
Nice introduction, John.
Thank you.
Very, very nice. And I think that captures a very good flavor of the town for sure. For sure. So do you want to take us into our next activity?
I was kind of hoping you'd do it.
okay,
that was a
you're
little
taking your
exhausting.
breath.
That was
That's
a little
fine.
exhausting.
Yeah,
But no.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, we discussed how we wanted to approach Ellicott City, and and obviously we're going to take it in chunks. But we also thought that it might be time to stretch ourselves a little bit.
Right.
We thought it might be helpful that you didn't just take our word for how haunted
That's
Ellicott
right.
City was, that we would bring in an interview, somebody else, a friend, a family member, a fellow alum, Luke Myler. And with that, Mike,
Yeah. With that,
the magic
of editing.
of editing and pre-recorded audio.
That's right. We're going to throw it over to me. It's an Into the Unknown with Mike and John milestone, our first interview. Today, we are pleased to welcome Luke Myler to the podcast. Welcome, Luke.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
One of
absolutely.
us. One of us.
Oh no!
One of us.
Is it
One of us.
I hear flies. Is there a pig head on a spike somewhere?
Different movie.
Oh, okay.
Different classic movie. That's
One
okay.
of us.
Okay.
One of us.
It's okay.
That's another one that went.
Somebody out there will get it. Remember what I always say, which is, as long as it's funny to me, I don't care.
Yeah, that's right. But it's odd because you're never laughing. John's
no.
laughing on the inside and crying on the outside. or
Yeah, that's a
something
lot
like
of that.
But John, Luke is here, so let's focus on Luke.
Oh, hi, Luke.
Hi, John.
I missed you there.
We're so used to just having each
Other,
other. It's
yeah.
exciting to
Yeah.
have
Throw
somebody
you off
else here
tonight.
with us. So, well, you're throwing us on, and that's so good, right? So, for some context, folks, the three of us are Marylanders. Luke, we've been keeping most of our stories local. What we're familiar with, and as the seasons wear on, we're gonna work our way out. But we're no stranger to you, and you're no stranger to us.
It's kind of funky, actually, how long we've all known each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. We
Okay.
went to school together.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. This is like old times.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like sitting. It's like sitting in the cafeteria
Yeah.
over on the west side of Baltimore,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Well, if you want to spend a minute, introduce yourself to the group here, Luke.
Sure. Luke Myler. I've known Mike and John now for years. I'm local Woodlawn, Catonsville person. Went to Mount St. Joe and worked in Ellicott City. Kind of grew up as that's the historic town everybody went to on the weekends, and then I ended up working there. Just turned 50. So
wow.
It's
Did you get a
it's
colonoscopy
been
yet?
years.
There's so much
We won't
fun.
go there.
It's a really great nap. It's a really great nap. I've done two. It's all right.
You know what? I said, please, can I have the box? Mail me the box.
Wow.
Oh, did you?
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
It's a great weight loss thing, too. No, it's all right.
Oh, what test did your doctor give you? I don't know, hear that one. But so when we went to school together, we actually all live really nearby Ellicott City.
Yeah, it sort of triangulates, or we triangulate it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are closer, but I go through there to visit you guys. So obviously, Luke, we've got an episode that we're trying to put together. It's actually a request that we got.
Okay.
An out-of-state request for someone that knows Ellicott City really well, but wanted to hear some tales about it. So I know that I spent some time with you when you worked in Ellicott City. I remember...
My wife still talks about that. She says, don't we know any more bartenders in Ellicott City that we could go visit? I'm like, no.
Those were the days, man.
No,
that was
There
a
was
lot of
just
fun.
one spot. That was it. Always ended up there, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we had a good time. But I do remember we also had a conversation one evening about some of the more strange and weird things that happened at the Tiber River. So we'd kind of like to ask you to set the scene about that
Sure.
restaurant and the bar and
Yeah,
tell us what you know.
Do you know anything about the history of the building, what it was before it was the Tiber River? Because it's been some things after, too. But
It has, and it's still a restaurant now. So before it was Tiber, it was a place called Milltown Tavern.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
I believe that was the first, I guess, business there, because I believe it was actually some type of farmhouse.
I think so. Yeah.
I'll throw you a lifeline here.
Okay.
Let me check my memory, because I did no looking.
Okay.
As usual,
Okay.
I love
Yeah.
coming in excited to these to learn something. But this is stuff I think I knew. That section on the right, as you face it, and you're standing on the road and you're facing it, that building that's on the right that's low and squat where the kitchen was,
Yeah.
I think that, and a couple of extended areas were like the carriage house is what I recall
Yes.
from
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah.
So fill us in,
Yeah,
John. What'd you
I
find?
did the quick research, and not to steal your thunder.
No.
Just to set
Well,
the scene
you
about
were
what
just-
building we're talking
We're
about.
all putting our information together.
Yeah. So the address is 3733 Columbia Pike in Ellicott City, and it was originally Taylor's Row was the name of the property, and it was a stable for the livery trade
There we go.
in Ellicott
Yes.
City back before they had cars. So it's actually a very old building
Yep.
that has had a lot of hard work done in it over the years. There were actually, I think, two main stables, one at the bottom of the hill, and this one's closer to the top of the hill. So depending on which direction you came into town, you might put your horse there. Like now you might drive into a garage and leave your car while you go off and do
Right.
your shopping.
Right.
So that is, people like livery trade. That sounds so fancy, but it really is just the ancient equivalent of parking your car in the garage.
Parking garage, right?
We'll rub it down and feed it and pick up its poop.
Right. Yes, exactly. Well, you would pay the person to groom the horse while you were off doing your business in town in Ellicott City. So I just want to set that stage, because it is possible to look at the building now and kind of see, the bones of it are old, and it is a little bit labyrinthine.
Yeah, to
on
set
the
that
inside.
visual, it really does have that nothing is square feel to it,
no,
right?
yeah.
That kitchen especially, right? It's almost like and it's on a hill. So as the hill goes up, it's like the Well, the building doesn't actually go up either. So there's a part where it sort of narrows down. It might be 5 feet
So
all
this
the way
is
at the right.
This is your opportunity to bitch about the building and how it was helpful and
Well,
hurtful
I
to
will
the way
tell
you
you a
did your
story
work.
about the building and the fact that it's on a hill. And this happened a little later in my career there. But I don't know if I ever told you this, but a boulder actually fell behind that building and hit the back of Tiber River overnight.
Wow.
No one was there, but when the owners came in, it knocked every tap on. So the entire top flooded down into the bottom with beer. And they walked in, didn't know what it was, and was like, "What's going on?" And turns out that
Did they blame the ghost?
that a bolt. Well, I don't know. I'm not insurance wise, I guess.
I
But
don't know, hurling rocks.
Never blame the ghost
wait
for
a minute.
insurance.
Hey, let's hurling rocks. That's a Sasquatch thing.
That's true. That's more of a
is.
Sasquatch thing.
yeah, and they I think they still left it there because it was so big. I think it only
Yeah.
moved. I mean, obviously it didn't pick up speed and hit, but it just moved a little bit and ended up hitting the back of the building and shook the whole building.
Wow.
And put them all on.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I've never heard that
Yeah,
story.
and I think the boulder's still there.
Yeah, that is a good story.
Yeah, that is incredible.
And they had looked
Yikes.
at getting some trees removed, but you had to bring a crane in, way too much money. So
Yeah.
there's an element of what's going to hit this building at any point, whether a storm were to come by
Right.
or, too much rain with a boulder or a tree or whatever. It was a little creepy in that sense to work there too.
Yeah.
Like what's going to end up coming through the roof here at any time. So
Well, I'll tell you, having grown up around it, I mean, I if you think back, there are a lot of calamities that happen down there,
Oh,
just
yeah.
more, I know John's probably thinking, here we go.
No,
I can
go.
hear the eyes rolling
no,
as
go
he's the
on.
resident skeptic,
Go
just so
on.
you know, like
Yeah,
you probably
that's
may
true.
have heard. And he won't take the hat off, and that's fine. But it just
trying to
seems
play
like
along.
like I was waiting. I don't know. Maybe that's on me. But we can look at some really horrible things. The flooding over the past. I mean, in the two 100-year storms in the past, like within 3 or 4 years of each other,
Yeah.
or less.
in the last 5-6 years, something
Yeah.
like that.
And if you remember that
Maybe
one
longer.
section along the tracks, that whole wall collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
You had the accident on the overpass with the two kids.
Two kids, right?
that were
Yeah.
Yeah.
tragically killed. You've had the floods where lives were lost as
Yes.
well. You've got fires, flooding out. I mean, and then on top of a town that floods, the house or the building on the hill floods with beer.
Yeah.
For Pete's sake, tell me, isn't that strange? Isn't that strange? Some people would love to be
I was
drowned
going
in
to
beer.
say, I'd rather be at that flood, but yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to drink our way out of this.
There are worse floods. Right. So how did you get the job at the restaurant?
So so it was Milltown Tavern to begin with. Again, I believe that might have been the first restaurant there. And then I worked at another bar restaurant in a adjoining town of Catonsville. Then the owners bought the building. They bought the building from whoever it was who had it
So
at the
they
time.
owned the building outright.
They owned the building.
Okay.
Because there was also an apartment, if you're looking at the building in the upper right-hand corner next to the small parking lot next to it,
Yeah.
that was an apartment.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was an apartment that apparently the guy who sold the building to them, he'd still lived there. I can't recall his name, but he lived there when I worked there.
Okay.
He was an older gentleman, and he had just steps going up to his apartment. I was in there one time. It was a nice apartment. So when the owners of the restaurant where I worked in the adjoining town of Catonsville, when they bought it, they asked me to come work for them.
Okay.
And I needed a few more nights, so I said, okay, I'll go work there. That'll be neat to work in Ellicott City.
What time period? That was early 2000s, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And what was your job title at first?
Bartender.
Bartender.
Bartender,
Okay.
yeah. And I guess I did manage for them as much as a bartender who's going to be the one who is the only one in the building at the end of the night because they wanted to go home. So you
You were in there alone.
Oh yeah, plenty.
Well, now we're getting to
plenty,
it.
plenty,
Now we're
yeah.
getting
See,
to
I
it.
know how to
Yeah.
set these stories up, even if I don't believe in them.
So I'm seeing a fork in the road, and I'm wondering which one to go down. But I don't want to invoke anything yet. I really want to pick your brain. So while you said that, John, you were in place alone. So let's just ask the question everyone's been dying to know. What did you experience in this haunted building, Luke? Tell us.
So there was definitely some always watching over your shoulder, hearing a lot of different things. I'll be honest with you. I never experienced something that I said, wow, hold on, what was that? That might not have been something that could have been attributed to it being an old building.
But you heard things.
Oh, I definitely heard a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just like, well, that could be the rattle of a pipe.
Right.
Okay.
Creaks.
And the other staff, they have varying opinions, I assume.
That could have been the other direction we go there. I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
That was the kind of the main story I had heard about the place. But this happened apparently when it was Milltown Tavern. I didn't know the person who it happened to, but it was you had 2 floors. And the first floor there is all wood floors, or was all wood floors. And the story had gone for this building was that one night someone was mopping the floors. They mopped the floors back into the kitchen, went upstairs, did the money, came back down, and as they looked out into the bar, there was footsteps.
Yes.
There was footsteps in the wet floor that they had left in the bar area, and they turned around and got out of there.
Yeah.
So that was the story when I took the job there. That's the story we had heard about this building and what happened there.
I remember you telling me that as I sat in front of you and was ordering drinks. I do remember.
I remember
I think
hearing
you
that
might
story
have been there.
At least possibly. Yeah. But I wasn't sure. So I remembered that story. I could not recall if you had told me that or if somebody else had. But I kind of assumed it was more likely you.
I remember you telling me that story. And the other path that I was talking about, and I think is this. I think that the ghost walk of Ellicott City tells that story too. I think that's part of their repertoire in their storybook.
I don't believe I've done the ghost walk in Ellicott City. I've done plenty, but I can't remember if that one's one of the ones I did. But that story was definitely told from the employee, that came within the building. It wasn't from a ghost tour that I heard that. But they might still tell that story.
I haven't been on that tour in over 10 years, so it may have changed because I think the ghost tour ownership changed. And we should probably try to hook up with them too. So that's another reason we do these little experiments is we suddenly have flashes of, who else should we talk to?
Yeah, who can we talk to? Who wants to tell stories and let us know what they've experienced?
Yeah, so if you're on the ghost tour management owners or whatever, and I'm sure you're out there finding our podcast and going, oh, look, more stuff.
Well, what do you know, John?
Us.
We've just got an email. It says buy tickets. We start at 8.
Thanks. Yeah, I wasn't looking for a freebie per se.
No,
I just thought they might want to come on and advertise their service.
We could do that.
We could talk to them. Yeah.
So, what other stories did you have staff that were that came in and said, Luke, when you weren't here, here's what I experienced. What have others around you figured out?
So the only other stories that I heard from people who I worked with at the time at Tiber weren't really so much from the Tiber building, other than again the noises and the scariness of being there alone at night and 2 floors and not knowing what's around the corner. A lot of them came from across the row.
Oh, Tongue Row.
Tongue Row. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the set of stone buildings right across the street.
Yes, and that was always known, again, as because when I worked there, now I believe Tongue Row's, fully
renovated.
I'm sure it's fairly renovated, but it's actually a pretty popular spot now.
Yeah.
Back when I worked there was always at least 3 or 4 vacant businesses or areas in
come
there.
And gone.
Yeah. Now I know they have a little French cafe or something out back that does music, and you go there on the weekend. It's actually a very happening spot for Ellicott City. But back when I was there, that was kind of the scary spot, and we had windows facing it, so you're looking at it the whole time. So when I'm there alone at night, I can see where I am, in my place, but over there was always some flashes in the windows.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, definitely. And just things that it's like, well, what was that? Where's that? And we were off the beaten path. So even at 1 a.m, if you were down on Main Street outside of some of the other bars and restaurants, there was a lot of people.
Right.
But as soon as you turned up Old Columbia Pike, you had our row and you had Tongue Row.
Right.
And it was pretty desolate
And
after.
it's derelict.
Yes. At 1, 2, I mean, there was times I was there till 3:30 in the morning by myself.
Yeah.
And, you look out the window and you might see something in one of the windows or a shadow or a flash or something like that. There was definitely nights of that, but I never went to investigate. So,
Really? Why not?
Interesting. And then Gordon Ramsay got his hands on it and turned it into a happening spot. Yeah, no, it's true. It's happening now. So, it would be interesting to go down there and patronize some of these businesses, buy a coffee, and ask for a story as well.
yeah, it's a neat little row there.
Yeah.
But again, other than the other than what I heard, what I saw those nights, that I never went into Tongue Row to see any of the other places or what it's like in there. But I know they're all businesses now.
Yeah. And so just for the visual, these are imagined townhomes made of stone. So they're not massive, right? And
They're fairly small.
They're fairly small, and I think these were mill worker homes. We've not looked up the history of them. I don't want to spout a lot of things that might be wrong.
That's for a different time, because I did look into that, and they were sort of mill worker homes. But there's an interesting story to
obviously.
that.
Yeah, but anyway, just to give you the idea that these are it's a series of maybe 4 or 5 in a single continuous building, like townhomes. They're rather small, but they're made of very gray stone,
and they're built over a cliff,
and they're on the edge of a precipice. And it's called Tongue Row. And we'll certainly revisit that in some.
We don't want to tell all the Ellicott City stories.
But I'm just
tonight.
trying to give a visual, and to look out and see what it just a derelict, grayed out building would look pretty scary, especially if weird lights are flickering in the upstairs window. Now, I understand, and I'll stop here, but as you look out the bar window, and I remember very well because I looked out of that a couple times myself, once or twice. There is the building on the far left edge. That home, that dwelling was the one that I think has some stories.
Yeah.
So we'll revisit that. But so, Luke, what are your views on the paranormal? I mean, we've invited you on a paranormal podcast. Right. You were nice enough to join us. You're a very friendly interview because I don't think you're going to give us a lot of grief. No. And we really appreciate that.
That's why we invited it.
Well, we cut our teeth on interviewing.
Good first interview.
Right. Yeah, you're friendly. So thanks for not throwing things at us. But are you comfortable sharing what your views are on the paranormal?
Sure. Again, to be honest, I believe in the paranormal. I have not experienced too much paranormal, but I do believe in it, and I mainly, I guess, I attribute that to just a few stories that I have from family and people who I trust, who I would say, I think something's going on there. Again, doesn't mean it's scary, doesn't mean it's some ghostly thing, but just in general, I believe there is things that can go on that have different meanings that we might not be able to explain. So, again, just a couple stories that I had heard from family members that I said, okay, well, there's no reason for they're not making that up,
Right.
And then, maybe certain little things that happen at certain times, maybe even something in Ellicott City. Certain stories I've heard there, I believe them.
But I have
not. So my favorite story that would lead me to believe that there is maybe something after death, an afterlife, paranormal type thing, would mainly come from a story that my dad told me after my grandfather, his father, had passed away. And it's a fairly basic story, but they had a house down in Baltimore City that they were clearing out after my grandfather had passed away. And my dad and my uncle, his brother, went there to help my grandmother clear some stuff out. They were kind of just finishing it up. And for some reason, they had been searching for a broom to sweep things up, to kind of finish up clearing out the house. They couldn't find it. My uncle and my dad said they looked and looked and looked, couldn't find it. They go to leave and they hear something upstairs. And they go upstairs and the broom's laying on the floor. And again,
I love it.
It's just it's a simple story, but it was more of something was going on there, grandfather, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that story always stuck with me because I know my dad had no reason to lie to me about that, and I just thought it was an interesting story. So.
I can relate to that, Luke. I have not had like a slew of strange experiences, maybe a collection of small things that make you wonder. But it was really when you ask people you trust and they tell you something and they're convinced, or like, listen, that was weird. Can I explain it? No. But that person you trust, giving you the indication that, I thought it was strange, that it starts to change your mind a little bit about it. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate that. So we are touching upon Ellicott City, but you had mentioned the town up the road, which is Catonsville, one we're all familiar with, and you worked at an establishment up there. Was there anything in that building and the name of that establishment? I
got to be honest. I feel like there's a dearth of Catonsville ghost stories. I'm beginning to hear a few now because people know that I'm interested in collecting some of that stuff, but it's not the same vibe in Catonsville that you get in Ellicott City, where people
agree
tell
with
that.
Totally.
Isn't.
Yeah, I do agree with that. The vibe's a very good way to put it because I definitely did not have the same experiences in Catonsville that I did in Ellicott City.
Okay.
Whether it be that, there wasn't a lot of alone time, so there wasn't a lot of quiet maybe in Catonsville, like as compared to Ellicott City. And I hadn't experienced anything in Catonsville like I had or had heard of in Ellicott City. Yeah. So, it was definitely a different vibe in Catonsville. I'd be interested to hear what you're hearing about.
Yeah, so real quick, because we probably need to find the guy who told me this story, but you familiar with Matthew 1600?
Sure.
Okay, right there. Yeah. Actually,
it's another place that we haunt.
Yeah, right. And to set the scene and maybe connect these things for the audience, there's a street that runs out of Baltimore City through Catonsville on down to Ellicott City called Frederick Road, because back in the day it went all the way out to Frederick, Maryland,
which is a good 30-40 miles out at that point.
Yeah, it was, and it dates back to colonial days. And the last time I was in Matthew's 1600 and I was shilling for people to come and talk to us, I talked to the manager there, Matthew. Yeah. And his family was also connected to Ellicott City, because I was actually trying to get Ellicott City stories out of him. He said, well, we have a ghost here. I'm like, what, really? Tell me more. And he says there is a ghostly army unit that will march down Frederick Road in front of the Matthew 1600 building. Yeah, that look you just gave me, that was kind of what I was like, Wow. He seems to match it to the Civil War, which I guess makes more sense.
Interesting.
Because, as we build out the Ellicott City episode, we'll probably talk a little bit about the Civil War experience, but for them.
Sure.
So yeah, there was probably more reason for a unit to be marching down towards Ellicott City, but I don't know. And that was the first time I heard of that.
Tweaks of memory. So they are nice enough to put a history on the menu, if I recall. So we need to get a copy of that off the menu. And
I'm sure we can get Matthew on at some point.
That would be a great idea.
I'm sure of it.
Let's just do that.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and
don't know
we'll
how
also
many
get
more
the menu.
stories he's got. Yeah, we'll get the menu.
We'll get the
Maybe
menu.
we can get him to bring some food off the menu.
Well, why don't we just take our equipment over there? It's not a lot.
True.
And just interview him.
You could get my son too. He works there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
See,
right.
there
It's
you
all in
go.
the family.
All right.
Yeah,
All the connections.
if you ever-
Maybe we're more,
Well,
more
ask
connected
him.
than
See
I
what he
think.
knows.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Maryland is a small state.
Yeah.
And we don't know everybody, but we know a lot of people. So I was just going to say, Luke is married to my niece, and she and I go to dinner there quite a bit at Matthews, and Kathy's got a business right up in Catonsville in town. But one of the things before we got too far away from it, I wanted to not leave that idea that there is a dearth of stories in Catonsville, and the vibe is different, and I agree with that completely, having grown up. Obviously around it.
Yeah. The buildings aren't as old as Ellicott City for starters.
They're not, for one, but there are also other physical qualities. And I want to loop in a little bit onto some of the other episodes that folks will have heard by now. We've got strange occurrences, and we have evidence that the physical world, our physical world, has certain characteristics that cause these things. And so I just want to look at or point out that many of these buildings are made of stone, and I think a lot of it is granite. I think we could even source some of the
Well, there were
quarries that
granite
fed-
quarries in Ellicott City.
And there's one that's right outside of right north near Old Court Road. There's an old granite quarry up there.
Yep.
Plus the confluence of water, the flowing water, and the stone and the bedrock. And right there at the trolley trail, so basically, where the Bloody Bucket is, if you walk the trail where the trolley went and you climb those stairs from the restaurant and you start walking out, I will have it for the episode.
Okay.
And
I believe
there
it.
is a very unique geological formation where there's an upthrust, I think, or the meeting of two of these very old strata, geologic strata. So I'm going to get that information and see what there is to find there.
This is Mike's new thing, is the geology.
Well, so
I'm just coming along for the ride. I'm like, I understand stone tapes theory, but
if it builds
I
a
didn't
little
realize
bit.
it excited you so much.
Well, it was to me. Again, for my ride is that it's like I love these stories, but I've always wondered what is causing this. Is it real? And the stone tapes theory, I'm not well read on it, but I also said if you're looking for large effects, you have to look at the largeness around you, right? What's the weather? What are you standing on? Water has always been associated with spirit activity. We can also talked about, I don't know if you're familiar with the missing 411 phenomenon, where folks go missing in clusters in state parks. These are disappearances where people
You can't just nod. You have to say yes or no. It's
I
an
went to
audio
say yes,
medium.
and the cough drop got me.
Actually, hand me one of those if you don't mind. I'm a little scratchy myself.
Shut him up. We need you to talk more.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. We can drop it. We can. But yeah, looking for those big effects. What's around you, right? When you got the weather and what's above and below the weather and what you're standing on.
Sure. Yeah.
Then the missing 411 theory revolves around, where were these people when they disappeared? And one of the attributes that they ascribe to these cases is water is present, and then there's boulders and quartz and these geologic formations. So anyway, I'm still poking at it.
I point out to him that people like to camp near water.
Yeah, but he likes to.
But that's my thing. That's my job here, is to reel him back in.
But remember, he told us
why?
he's not a STEM guy, and it's very clear. He's not.
I am the liberal arts guy.
You are the liberal arts guy.
I did take some STEM
there's-
courses.
and
It's
you-
not like I've been around engineers and physicists for the past 20
There's
years.
a lot of adopting of other skeptics' content, but anyway. So but this is another episode where we talk about portals, and these are supposedly naturally occurring items that can have strange effects.
Okay.
So anyway, but and what the point is, that Ellicott City seems to be a confluence of a lot of them.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, like the calamities, right? The events that happen down there.
And so
then the
many of
fact
those
that
calamities involve running water.
running water and also massive weather events,
Yeah.
which is another one of those criteria for the 411 episode or
And
disappearances.
not infrequently some disturbance of stone, as your story pointed
Right.
out.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, and am I pointing to something and saying, aha, proof? Nope. I am just piecing it all together.
No, it makes sense, and I mean, you also have, I think with the age of Ellicott City, like John was saying, compared to like a town like Catonsville, how things are made, and then the surrounding areas. I mean, you don't. Again, I don't want to get off topic of.
There is no off
There is
topic.
no off topic in an interview.
Of
We go where
Tiber,
you go.
but you do have the other areas surround.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a cemetery up behind
Yeah.
the
There are
Tiber
several.
River, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I've never been up to that. You can see the note marker as you come down Old Columbia Pike.
Yeah.
7-something cemetery, or
Yeah,
I forget
yeah.
what
There's
it's
one.
called,
There's
but-
one very close. That's an old family plot
Right.
there. I don't have the
Yeah.
details on it.
Just
myself,
around the
but-
corner on the left.
But then
Right.
there are some larger cemeteries further up the hill, more towards the modern part of Ellicott City, and there are a few other family-style plots around.
Scattered
That You're
around.
just that's the one you're talking about can be seen sort of from
Right.
the road.
You
at
can
least
see
the
that,
entrance,
right.
but there are others.
And then you get into, you obviously had what was it, a women's.
Oh, the women's
Psychiatric.
Mount Ida. Oh,
There's-
yeah.
there are a
Next to
couple of
Mount
those, yeah.
Ida.
Yes, yeah. So that's really not too far either. You know, you have the quote unquote steps going to the old, I believe it was a seminary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the St. Mary's
You know,
Seminary. Yeah.
So you had the
that-
religious aspect, which always can add a little spookiness, I guess you could say, when it comes to that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
we'll talk. Yes, that's
Right.
we've got
good
to
at
pin,
this, Luke.
We've got to pin that one
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we are actively trying to find some people who can tell us more about the old seminary, and after it was abandoned, as it was called, Hell House.
Do
Yes.
we want to dive off there? And I think we're talking about the female Patapsco Female
Patapsco
Institute,
Female Institute. Yes,
Institute.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had to check that myself because I
Yeah.
didn't realize
It's
we
the
were
one
going to talk
that's-
about that.
preserved as
Yeah.
ruins, if I recall.
And it's haunted too.
Yeah.
They're all haunted. Everything's haunted in Ellicott City. Every building has a story.
Yeah. So one thing we could do is we could say, all right, well, thanks, Luke, and break it here. And we could do that.
And maybe we should, but we can also then continue to just banter for a bit and see what else comes out.
Well, I think we acknowledged that we wanted to talk about Hell House and your experience there. So let's do this. Let me just I'll just say, well, Luke, we really enjoyed having you here. It's been a pleasure. I got to tell you, your stories are great, and you've been a great first interview for us, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. It's definitely been fun as well. I hope to be back.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for
anytime.
coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be right back. Well, I think we're going to be hearing from Luke Myler again, John. Wouldn't you say?
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
he was friendly, which is always good
Yeah.
for a first
Yeah,
interview.
he's a friendly guy.
I think the next interview we've got lined up actually eats children, but
Yeah. What a
I
juxtaposition.
know that probably came out of nowhere. But you'll see.
You'll see. Wow. There's a
see.
pass forward.
Yep, that's a pin for sure.
Yeah, that's upcoming. That's upcoming for sure. Every now and again, I have to stop and think, like, what's the order
Yeah.
we're doing this in? But that's okay. That's all right. Okay, so we really enjoyed that, and yeah, well, you're probably going to hear from Luke, again, maybe even in our Ellicott City coverage. But now we think it's time that we come back to Ellicott City, back to John and I, and we wanted to start right away with a story that we found that is on evidence, and dive into this story. Now, as John mentioned, yes, ghosts and souls from days gone by every so often make themselves known to the living, and this next story is no exception. And so let's dig in. Witnesses describe hearing strange sounds coming from the dark and narrow recesses between the old stone buildings along Main Street. Just what is occurring in these dark places? Is it nefarious activity of current-day skullduggery, or something else? One such location, down by the Oliver Viaduct, where the train passes over Main Street, a long, steep staircase rises to what was once a platform where people could board the train when it carried passengers. The boardwalk stretched from the B&O Railroad Station over the train bridge to the building across the street that was once a hotel. During the Civil War, the train line was used to transport Confederate prisoners of war to camps further up the line in Ohio. The hotel building was used to house them for a short period before continuing their journey west. The story goes that one Confederate prisoner had no intention of going quietly to a POW camp. Camps were grim and horrible places on both sides, north and south. Although the North had more resources for prisoners, camp life still came with the fear of disease and death. Perhaps knowing this, our rebel prisoner hatched an impulsive plan. While on the platform, he spied the long staircase leading to the street and hopefully freedom, or at least a chance at it. He ran for it, his battle-worn hobnail shoes clattering over the board and stone. He reached the stairs and headed down. He must have felt elated, seeing freedom. But about halfway down, perhaps with a feeling of hope rising within him, he heard a shot ring out. Union officers in blue spotted him and were just too quick. The rebel was gunned down. He toppled forward and came to rest at the foot of the stairs, dead as a doornail. For this poor soul, the war and his life was over, ended by the Union soldiers. Or was it? These days, on dark nights, visitors passing the dark staircase are stunned to hear the sounds of haste, someone scrambling down the stairs, boots scuffing. Others have heard a great commotion, as if someone has tumbled horribly down the stone steps, only to turn and see no one there. Is the Southern prisoner from that day reliving his last moments over and over on the streets of Ellicott City? Some say yes. Maybe one night, you too will hear an echo from the past on the streets of old Ellicott City. So that's one story we have, John.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that at all, or just move to the next?
Well, did you have any thoughts? Did any pins come up?
I
or
don't
observations?
Pins. I don't have pins. I don't.
Okay.
I encountered a slight variant on this that I thought was I certainly didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Yeah.
The variant I saw was that the prisoner had actually escaped somewhere further up the rail line.
Oh.
And was following the rail line in what he thought was south.
Mm-hmm. It was actually taking him.
It was actually taking him towards Baltimore. He didn't know that.
Oh,
but he
dear.
encountered Ellicott City and realized, oops, this is a Union-held town.
Yeah.
And it had nowhere else to go. So he encountered the train platform and then needed to hide. And in hiding, he just had to move while the Union soldiers were also, out and about doing their thing. Mm-hmm. And he panicked and went down the stairs, and they saw him and shot him because you're right. There were, and that's why it's an interesting variant. And I just want to acknowledge the variant.
Interesting.
Because a lot of ghost stories have variants. All around that same, prisoners were transported through that area along that rail line. All of that is true.
That's all true.
Yeah.
That's right.
And interestingly enough, he panics because he sees the Union soldiers there, even though it's a town full of people who might have been sympathetic to him.
Right.
And he
If
never
only he had knocked on a door.
Yep.
That's, might have known.
And I think that's the other sort of unspoken bit in the story is that, fate played a deadly hand for this
It
fellow,
did.
because
It
if he
did.
had just
He was so
encountered
close.
somebody else, he might have survived.
That's right. But would he have known? I mean, honestly,
I
if
don't know.
if he's from Tennessee or Louisiana, he's not going to know Ellicott City.
Yeah, no, I don't know that would have come up.
So I guess another interesting question is, have you ever heard the rumblings of that ghost walking in Ellicott City at night?
I have heard the rumblings of the wait staff taking the trash out to those closes. That's it. Oh, that's the
Yeah.
other thing I did want
Yeah.
to bring up is that Ellicott City really is very tight quarters. So this stairway is, maybe 3 feet across, very tight, and it reminds me very much of Edinburgh in Scotland.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of having the buildings and the tight quarters spaces between them that people use to travel back and forth. And in Edinburgh, this would have been called a close, as in a closed-in space.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Interesting.
And it's exactly the same kind of, like you can go to Edinburgh and find a staircase that goes up to and it's like Ellicott City is like Edinburgh in miniature.
Wow.
So if you're familiar with that very haunted city, let me throw that pin down.
Okay. Yep.
That's another reason why this particular location in Maryland really resonates.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I won't spend a lot of time on this because I know, but I can't resist, a close or a closed-in space. And folks, just imagine stone steps, stone walls on either side. So there is, theoretically, if we pull in a little bit of physics and we
Stone on
say
3 sides.
it is an echo that is reverberating and potentially even exponentially growing just because of the resonance of the stone. If we believe in the stone tapes theory,
Yeah,
so
and this
that's
location-
very interesting.
This location's very close to the river.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. The water. You can just assume that water is there, right? Because it, again, as we mentioned, it runs in some cases underneath the buildings, and the street. So very cool.
Yeah, and
there was only one other thing I was going to say
okay.
while we were there. I had a memory of taking the ghost tour down there, and I think another variant is that in the hotel, and that building is still there, although it's chopped down, but I think it was 5 stories, and now it's 3. I could have that wrong, but we'll come back to that.
We'll look that up. I'm sure there's something else in that building we can talk about.
Yeah, but I think that it is. I believe it's apartments, but whatever
It's not
is
a hotel today.
in there. No, it's not a hotel.
It was one of the rail hotels, and there were several.
Yeah, and there were several names for the hotels, but we're going to get to all of that kind of stuff. But I think one of the variants is that Confederate, or maybe even another one, haunts the inside and is seen in the hallway, and that's just me pulling from memory. But that's one we'll probably pop a pin on and see what else we can dig out of this. These Confederates.
If you're listening out there and you're familiar with the old railroad hotel, that is fronting at 8030, 8032, and 8034 Main Street. If you've got your story for that location, let us know.
Yeah.
But we will come back to the Civil War because that's not the only Civil War related story in Ellicott City.
Well, not only that, I mean, we're going to be covering Civil War a little bit later on in the season too. So yeah. All right. So where do we go next?
I was going to go maybe half block up the street if you want me to read my story.
Yeah, I want you to.
Okay,
Please
it's a little
do.
longer because of the setup for why the place is haunted.
That's quite all right.
Is just tragic, and yeah, I want to start by saying this is a tragic American story, but it is true, it is honest, and it's important because similar things happened all over the country. And it is a fundamental Ellicott City story. As with many ghost stories, it involves death, and in this case, a pair of violent deaths. You've been warned. Carter's 5 Shops is the name given to a row of 3.5-story brick buildings near the foot of the hill, about a block west of the rail station, next to the Old Town Hall. The buildings were constructed sometime between 1872 and 1887, and the address, should you want to view the property, say, on Google Maps, and that's easy enough to do.
Yeah, we recommend you do it.
Yeah.
Put the little person on the map so
and
you can see what it looks
You
like.
can see where all of these locations are.
Yeah.
The address for these buildings is 8048 to 8056 Main Street. Odd, I know, but when you see the way the properties are built and think about the ways they have been repurposed over the years, I think it'll make more sense. Another reason to take that virtual tour. These storefronts have hosted everything from hot dog food counters to barber shops to psychic readings.
Oh, you mean the unknown?
Yes,
Ellicott
the unknown.
City?
The
What?
unknown.
What?
I'll let you ponder
Preposterous.
the implications of the psychic readings in this location.
Imagine that.
Yeah. But we are concerned with the year 1895, when one of those shop fronts, and it's a little unclear exactly which one, but likely 8054, was home to a tobacco shop owned by Daniel Shea. Shea employed a local man named Jacob Henson from an African-American family who were likely former slaves only a generation or two previously. Shelley Davis Wygant provides a compilation of the Baltimore Sun newspaper accounts from the time in her book, Haunted Ellicott City. And I'm going to essentially read this text with very light editing, since it's from the newspaper. I do have to wonder, I want to plant this suggestion in your minds, if the newspaper's narration should be considered fully reliable.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think you'll see what I mean.
Okay.
Because there's room for interpretation of some of these events.
Mm-hmm. Well, there always is.
And I think you'll also notice as we go through that there are definite heroes and villains in the story. But I'm going to leave it to your good graces to separate them, because I don't think it's necessarily as obvious as you might wish. So here's the story. Jacob Henson walked over to his employer's country store during the closing hours of February 19th, 1895, to enjoy a few beers. Henson and his employer, Daniel F. Shea, enjoyed the beverages as they were locking up the store for the evening, when all of a sudden a fight broke out between the two men. Mr. Shea reportedly struck Jacob Henson in the chest with his fists 3 times. Enraged, Henson picked up the first thing he saw on the ground, a hatchet, and proceeded to hit Daniel Shea in the head a number of times, causing Shea to collapse in the corner of the room. Frightened, Henson ran away from the store, but not before neighbor John Dorsey, there's a name
we recognize.
caught sight of him fleeing the scene. Mr. Dorsey then entered Daniel Shea's store and found him dead. When Shea's body was examined, doctors found over 20 distinct gashes in the skull of the storekeeper.
Wow. Interesting. 20, huh? Yeah, pin that.
Yes. Authorities found Jacob Henson at his home in Ellicott City, Howard County, and arrested him for the murder of Daniel Shea. Henson explained his actions were in self-defense, explaining that Mr. Shea struck him in the chest first. Detectives found blood on both Henson's clothes and the hatchet used to kill Shea. While in custody, Henson confessed these events to Deputy Warden Robert H. Holman, emphasizing that it was an act of self-defense. Henson was held in the county jail on Ellicott City's Main Street until a trial date could be set.
Okay.
On March 28th, Jacob Henson was in court for the murder. Henson's representation, an experienced African-American lawyer named W. Ashby Hawkins, argued that Henson was of unsound mind, and he pled to the jury not to sentence his client to death by reason of insanity. Detective Herman Poehler of Baltimore also heard the confessions given by Henson while he was in custody in Ellicott City, and although he agreed that Henson was slow and, quote, stupid at times, he was still competent enough to realize his actions. This conclusion was confirmed by a number of doctors who interviewed Jacob Henson while he was in jail. Chief Judge Roberts heard the case, and the jury only needed 25 minutes to deliberate and returned a verdict of guilty in the first-degree murder charge. The jury claimed that the attack was premeditated and organized by Jacob Henson the night before.
Can you see why John likes this story?
Yeah,
It's
a good
unknown.
It's,
I don't know. It's not unknown.
It's a good story.
It's a good
It's
one.
a
Keep going.
terrible story about. It's
Yeah,
a good story about a
it's,
terrible
well,
event.
Yeah, it's true.
First-degree murder was a capital offense, and Henson was sentenced to death by hanging, which was scheduled to take place on June 7th. Henson's attorney immediately asked for a suspended sentence because he was going to file for appeal based on the grounds that Jacob Henson was of questionable mind and did not know the difference between right and wrong. The next day, Mr. Hawkins argued his case, and although praised by State's Attorney McGuire for his articulate appeal, the amount of submitted evidence stacked up against Henson was too much to overturn the verdict. On April 2nd, Judge Jones found that Jacob Henson was guilty of the murder of Daniel Shea. This was the first time that Justice Jones handed down a death sentence in any case he had heard in his career. Mr. Hawkins stated that counsel would appeal to Governor Brown for at least an executive clemency decision because of Henson's lowered mental capacity. This is the point when tensions began to rise in the community. Jacob Henson could do nothing but wait for June 7th to arrive and accept the sentence. On the night of May 27th, citizens of Howard County were afraid that the governor would be lenient on Henson and grant his lawyer's wish of clemency and reduce the sentence, most probable to life in prison. Just after midnight on May 28th, 1895, 15 or 20 armed and masked men approached the Ellicott City Jail where Henson was held. Warden Lilly's son-in-law, Robert Holman, the deputy warden, you'll recall, and an African-American worker named Joe Garris were on watch that night. And at gunpoint, the two men could do nothing more to protect the inmate from the angry mob. It took the men a short while to enter the jail using an iron bar to break through the wooden door. Jacob Henson heard nothing until the men used a sledgehammer to break the iron lock of his cell door. Ordered to get dressed, Henson screamed for the men to take mercy on him. The masked men then tied a rope around his neck, bound his hands, and gagged him as they dragged Henson out of the jail. The mob then led Jacob Henson to Merrick's Lane, which I went looking for and appears to have disappeared off of current maps.
Oh, is that right?
Sometime since 1895.
Merrick's Lane.
Okay. The mob then led Jacob Henson to Merrick's Lane beyond the Patapsco Heights area, a short walk up the hill from the jail. Afraid of what awaited him, Jacob fainted and was dragged the rest of the way to a dogwood tree on the property of A.B. Johnson, where Jacob Henson was hanged. A placard was left under the body with the statement, quote, "Governor Brown forced the law-abiding citizens to carry out the verdict of the jury." By daybreak, the body of Jacob Henson was still in the tree, and Undertaker Hilsinger was ordered to place the body in a coffin, bring it to the jail, and get an interment for the body somewhere in Ellicott City. Unable to find a plot, the undertaker then looked into some African-American cemeteries in the vicinity, but with no luck. When the relatives of Jacob Henson were contacted, they originally planned to give their son a proper burial, but since he was lynched, they wanted nothing to do with the body. As a last resort, Sheriff Flower agreed to take the body to his farm and buried Henson in a cemetery there. During this time, the dogwood tree that Henson was lynched on had been cut down, and relic hunters took pieces of it as souvenirs to commemorate the spectacle.
Goodness gracious. Oof. Brutal. Huh.
And that ends the account. Over the
Yeah.
years since, occupants of the Carter's 5 shops have reported various paranormal manifestations, including odd sounds, moved objects, and the like. I have not been able to find any reports of visual encounters with ghosts, but again, if
Okay.
you're out there listening and you have familiarity with this, we'd love to hear from you. Interestingly, none of the experiences seemed at all malicious or threatening.
Okay.
And they certainly aren't especially flashy. But
Subtle.
the strangest spectral evidence is that sometimes, late at night, the smell of burning tobacco smoke is carried throughout the building.
Interesting. Wow.
So our author, Shelley Davis Wigan, ends her chapter in her book by suggesting that maybe Shea and Henson found peace on the other side of the veil and are now sharing a pipe or a cigar. I don't know. I suppose no one really knows the rules for how ghosts act. I find it a little hard to believe given the circumstances of their deaths, so I'll leave you to consider the possibilities. Wherever you come down on the existence of ghosts, ghost stories are certainly a way for people in the present to connect with the past, especially when the past is uncomfortable. And a friendly ghost story makes history just a little less uncomfortable.
Interesting story. I am not familiar with that one.
Yeah. But we're talking 1895, so that those echoes of the Civil War go on for decades. Decades.
Yeah. Wow. That's a heck of a story. And let me just going back through the text here.
Sure.
That came from
Haunted Ellicott City. It came from the
Baltimore
Sun. The text
Sun.
of it was the Baltimore Sun.
The Baltimore Sun
she
captured
took
it
from them.
Interesting. Wow. And so this location has these echoes of the past, and we don't have any information. Okay, yeah, we're certainly looking for any updates to these as if you were to listen and realize, like, hey, I have heard things or seen things. We would certainly like to know about that. Interesting story. I was not aware of that one.
Yeah, sorry. You're looking at me like, and I'm not sure I needed to be, but I think we do need to confront stories like this.
It's a long, involved tale of two friends that have conflicted with one another. So you had mentioned in the story before you began that there was sort of a lot of room for interpretation.
Yeah.
What were you cluing in on? So just let us know what you were thinking of. Maybe something is not quite.
I think there's a lot
expressed correctly.
I can't know for certain, but I think there are some things that do stand out that are safe ground to touch, such as they brought him to the jail after arrest and he confessed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe if he was, I believe that at a minimum he was poorly educated, and I believe that his lawyer. There's an interesting point. The lawyer was also African American in 1895. I thought that was very fascinating. I think his lawyer was a zealous advocate by coming up with the diminished capacity excuse. Let's take that at face value that, maybe he was talked into confessing, but, given the actions of the town in the wake of all this, one wonders, just how voluntary that confession was.
Right.
I think there's a lot of room for interpretation there.
Yeah.
What else struck me? Oh, what else struck me, given the fact that Henson's lawyer Hawkins was also African American? The phrasing of this: the next day, Mr. Hawkins argued his case, and although praised by State's Attorney McGuire for his articulate appeal, I just found that potentially condescending in retrospect. Why wouldn't it have been articulate?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if to think about the times in which this article was written, that's probably no one would trip on that at all. They'd read right over it. But of course, to our ears and sensibilities, it's like, what?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like what's really going on here?
Yeah.
And
well,
I think you got to remember that at all times when you read old newspaper accounts. They're not always as reliable as we would expect. Although maybe that's changing again these
days. The trust in the and we'll just call it the mainstream media or just media in general, ebbs and flows through the years depending on the culture,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes the news folks are trustworthy and generally believed, but it comes and goes.
And then
Yeah, certainly interesting.
and then further down, another point where I was a little suspect. When the mob approached the jail, so the mob approaches the jail, and the line is the two men could do nothing more at gunpoint. Blah blah blah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. I was
Okay.
concerned about that, and one of the reasons I got concerned about that is that the very account says that this mob of angry people who bust down the door and threaten the two men with guns, blah blah blah. Jacob Henson heard nothing in his cell.
Oh, well.
You
I think we're
know?
really going deep there to try and pick it apart. But I know it's interesting
it's
that
like,
it was written in there.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
written in
strange.
that he heard nothing until
the
they were
men-
outside his cell door.
With a sledgehammer.
Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't there.
It's just-
but there's
it's a
there's
strange
room-
statement.
There's room here.
Well, how
to
do you
maybe
know?
Suspect of the account's veracity.
Well, I would just say, did you when did you interview Jacob Henson?
To know
Is this
that
something
he
he
heard nothing? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's a good
strange,
point.
Strange
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah, but it certainly leaves one with the impression that he woke up to find them busting through the cell door. That he heard nothing before
It's-
that.
Yeah, that's a weird statement to sort of take it from his point of view and to make
Yeah.
a statement about his point of view
But it
at
makes-
all, in the sense that
It certainly-
what he did or didn't hear.
Yeah.
We know what happened to him, and yeah, that's strange.
But it does make more sense that he might have been startled awake like that if it really was oh, please stop, don't hurt anyone. Let me unlock that door for you.
yeah,
I don't know.
It's strange.
I
mean,
don't know.
yeah,
I
it
wasn't
was
there. I
like
don't
a-
want to cast aspersions on people who are long past, but the
Well,
stories.
It's a horrible story.
Yeah, and I certainly can cast aspersions on the 15 to 20 people who dragged this poor man.
Yeah, we
up
can
the hill.
absolutely say that was just the well,
Yeah.
the wrong move from the viewpoint of our modern sensibilities. And I only say that because back in the day, opinions of people, they change through time. So which is the scary part about it. Okay. Well, good. I mean, this really gives an indication of just how haunted Ellicott City is. And we appreciate you bringing this story forward, John. And I think if you don't have anything other queued up, I think we can close out part 1 of our Ellicott City ghost coverage. And we'll look forward to picking this back up in the future.
Oh, we've got plenty to cover.
All right.
We've got to go back to the train station.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of other hotels.
Yeah.
And the bars are haunted, as Luke said earlier in the
Yep.
episode. But
Yep.
there are other haunted bars like the Judge's Bench.
That's right. That's
and
right.
The Cocoa Lane.
And if I recall, there's a retail establishment, but at one time it was an auto repair garage, and I think there's a story there we can
up the hill.
we can try and suss out.
Yes.
It's the one that's tucked in behind. It's right down the street from the Tiber.
Oh, yes.
Tucked in back there. I think.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of what's been in there, but
the
stores gets tucked in back there quite often.
Yeah, the Phoenix and the Brew Pub, that's got a good ghost story.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
got a good one.
Okay. Well, good. Well, we look forward to that. And there we go. I hope for Jen listening down in Alabama, this scratched the itch. Jen, well, I'll have to text her because she worked in one of the buildings down there where there's a French restaurant. And I don't know if they want me necessarily plucking for them, but there's a French restaurant
They're going to
and there's
close
a
up
building.
shop soon. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yes.
Oh, boy. I'm
So
gonna have to
I won't.
go.
I'm not
Have to
using
eat
their
there
name
one
either,
more time.
But they are planning to roll up the business. I
Oh
believe.
boy.
Yeah.
Well, if I recall, that building was an undertaker. So I'm going to have to do a little digging there, and I'm sure you will too. All right, gang. We've covered part 1 of Ellicott City, and as you hear, there's a lot more to go. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.